G'day, guys. Welcome back to the NBA Supercoach Swordplay podcast. It is our round 14 preview. As you can see on the thumbnail there, Houston is on a bit of a run. So we'll talk about them when we get to the schedule. As usual, we'll talk about our short-term, long-term rookies, primo targets, mid-price targets, those rookie price targets, and then, as always, the captain's corner. We are going live, and I'm with my two brothers, as always. Burns, you are below me. How is life, brother? How are you going?
Yeah, I'm all right. If anyone did catch the MVL last week, I did cook my back, unfortunately, on the trampoline, but it's doing better now, so I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm not going to play ball this week, but definitely feeling a lot better. So now if Supercoach could just do a bit better too, that'd be great.
Oh, you poor bug. Nothing worse than doing a back, is there? I've learned many years ago, Burns, just to stay right away from trampolines. Yeah, good things don't happen, mate, from my experience anyway, buddy. But hope your back is recovering and your Supercoach side is going to get back on track this week. Boz, how are you, my friend? Life going well. We are back to school tomorrow, unfortunately. It has to happen. We can't complain as teachers because we do get very, very decent holidays. But back to work, mate. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, DR. We can't complain. Let's be honest. We have a plethora of time off throughout the year. And whilst it is a tough job, we do get the time that most probably don't. So, yeah, looking forward to getting back into some routines probably that I've kind of let go over the silly season. And, just looking forward to another good week of NBA.
Beautiful, mate. I've been telling both of my sons for the last 2 weeks, get back into a routine because when school comes back, you're going to be absolutely buggered. What they do last night, stay up till 2 o'clock, stupid stuff. But hey, you can only give people advice, boys. You can only give kids advice, mate. But let's crack straight into it, boys. We'll start off with our results from last week. I'll kick us off. So I got a 1,126. Which was pretty much right on path, my rank. I went down 8 spots. So nothing disastrous there. 667 for the season. That's top 2%. So had SGA, Maxi, Barnes, Wemby, and Bam all go 125 plus, which was nice. But had Giannis, which was unfortunate. Murray, game postponed. Cooper Flag as well. So a bit of a mixed bag, and had the big boy Wemby, who I bought in for a week, just a bit of a 1 week play as the captain. It was okayish, but if I had have gone SGA, then I could have got up in a couple of leagues, which was a little bit unfortunate. And I did trade out Jalen Johnson. It was one of those things I was umming and ahhing, do I, don't I? Ended up trading him out, and he did pretty decently for himself. But Vernsey, how about your week, mate? Was there fireworks? Was there excitement, or a little bit of darkness?
Yeah, look, I scored 1,075. Went down 22 places, so sitting around that 2K mark. I was talking to you boys before the pod, obviously, and I thought that the auto sub didn't apply, but it did. So I did end up making a smart move where I was going to have Amaya Thompson sitting on the bench, but I managed to flex KD down to the power forward bench, and he actually has slipped in for Markman, who didn't end up playing this week. A little bit disappointing there. Brought him in last week, and he's played one game over the last 8. And yeah, decided it was between him and Michael Porter Jr., and I just went the wrong way with that one. And 16 mil each week that I've just like, it's not doing anything on my field. So yeah, a bit disappointing there overall. I did bet of Captain Bam though, so not bad there at least. But didn't bring in SGA. So
yeah. Oh, so you went for the 5-gamer, Vernsey, and came out all right in the end. You would have been pretty happy with that. Very nice work, mate.
Yeah, I did have plans for SGA, but like Wemby had a better schedule, and I chose to put my money there, which hurt this week, but hopefully it's better in the long term.
Yeah, and I thought, coming up against someone like Derek Queen as well, we dominate him, but yeah, just not to be okay, but nothing spectacular anyway. Boz, you are right up there in the thick of things when it comes to the rankings. How did you go this week, brother? Was it a successful week for you?
Unfortunately not. There were a few things that really didn't go my way. I captained Wemby first off instead of SGA, and most weeks I'm tending to tell people to captain SGA because of how safe and consistent he is. So that one went against me. We might have lost the there for a second.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Dropped out.
That's all good. We'll keep going. What else happened? I had Cooper Flag on the field and Jamal Murray, who both had postponement games. Jamal Murray also missed a game. Cooper Flag also missing or getting kind of limited minutes in his return from an ankle injury. And then I tried to get Cade Cunningham in instead of Giannis. I just thought a bit of a longer term play because he had the 2 4 games in a row compared to Giannis, who only had the 1 4 game. So I just thought, if I'm smart, get Cade in. But then that obviously lost me about 25 points. In hindsight, it's been okay because Giannis is now injured. We'll speak about that a little later on. But yeah, just going that Cade instead of Giannis cost me 25 points. So look, ended up with a 1-1-0-4, ranked out now at about 202. So I did drop 53 places, but I'm not complaining at all being 202nd ranked. And I feel like long term I'm set up quite nicely.
Sorry, mate. I don't know what happened with my internet there. There was a little bit of a gremlin in the system, but I am back. But what I did here there was close to a top 200 rank. So congratulations, mate. Still plenty of time to absolutely kick right back up there. And I know that you've got a boost up your sleeve as well. So very nice work from you, buddy. All right, there are the results. Let's get into some unfortunate news here, but not too bad because these are just the short-term injuries. We've got a list of 7 blokes here. Boz, take us through them, my friend.
Yeah, so look, they're not really of relevance. I mean, a couple you might argue are, but look, there are a few teams here that are going into a 4-game week or have a couple of 4-game weeks coming up. So maybe you can think about the players around them or even these players in particular. But, Porzingis, he's been in and out of the team all year. He's pretty much a bench player now for them. I think they kind of are trying to get rid of him as well through the trade market. But, for someone that has held on to Jalen Johnson, just know that if Porzingis, isn't playing, and that's just way more usage now for Jalen Johnson. Even if you want to save some money and go down to someone like an Okongwu, who, when Porzingis is out, gets a lot of good usage and minutes as the starting center. Just keep an eye on that. And it looks like Porzingis will continue to miss the next couple of games. Garland in Cleveland, he's got a bit of a toe sprain. That's a real to be confirmed. They haven't really given a timeline. He's going to be reevaluated in, I think, about a couple of days' time. So, again, more usage for Donovan Mitchell. Not that he needs it because he shoots a heck of a lot each game. Austin Reeves, he's been out for a few weeks with that calf injury, and we're just kind of waiting for some news there. He could play in the next one. He might not play for the next 5. So, there we go, Gerbil letting us know that he's confirmed out tomorrow. Legend. So, looks like Luka will be another great pick this week as he has a 4-game week. And you can, at least guarantee that in one of these games, there's no Reeves. And I dare say that when Reeves does come back, there's probably going to be a bit of a minutes limit or a bit of a slow kind of build up to his usage there. Tyler Hero just can't catch a break this year. He would have been a perfect option on that 5-game week that Miami just had. Pretty happy that he was kind of ruled out before that because I think a lot of people would have kind of tossed up between Bam and Hero. So the fact that it was kind of forced upon us, it would have helped a lot of people there. He's still out for at least a week. And then we have Embiid and Paul George from Philly. They're already confirmed out for their first game this week. That just, you're licking your lips if you have Tyrese Maxey, because we know that when Embiid and Paul George miss, he literally does everything for that side. So, we can expect Maxey to at least start the week really, really well. And then Denny Advia, he's not that relevant. Portland are back onto a 4-game week, but it only lasts 1 week. He's got a lingering back issue that's kind of kept him out for a couple of games. Then he came back, played 1, but then actually re-aggravated that back injury. So, look, he's questionable tomorrow. He probably will end up playing, but would you risk getting him in if, you needed someone in your small forward line? Probably not, just because of that lingering issue.
It seems like we got the timing pretty well right with this. We got him in at the right time before that really mad run. And then it seems like as soon as that run's ended, that's where we've seen a few troubles with him, particularly on the injury front. So I think we played that pick very well. Now, before we get to the long-termers, Verns, we do have some comments here from our wonderful audience. Thank you very much to anyone that is tuning in. Shane Barker, g'day, Shane. Traded Norman Powell in. Pour your scorn. Unfortunate, buddy. Despite that, though, managed a 1-2-1-3, if you don't mind. So, look, a bit of a downside there, but at the same time, mate, that is a cracking score. So, congratulations there, mate. Mr. Chips, chat, I'm an hour and a half early. So, Chips, he's joined in nice and early. Thank you very much for your support there. Roddy, the chat is happening, my friend. It is. Thompson, Shengun in for me this week. Yeah, we'll talk about some of the trading options very, very soon, but I think that's going to be a pretty popular one there. Crash Dummy, how are you, mate? Who are the must-3 trade-in options? 2 players who must trade out. We might talk about that as well, buddy, when we get to some of our premium mid-pricer and rookie options. Gerbs is here. G'day, gents, and thank you very much for the Reeves comment as well, buddy. Anyone that does have any news that maybe we're not across, please make sure that you do chuck it in the chat like Gerbs did. It's a big help to us. And he says, Wemby C cost me this week only 1154, and I dropped 9 spots down to 85th. Gee, it's a tough life, Gerbs, isn't it, mate? All the way back at 85th. It's a real tough life. But in all seriousness, mate, bad luck, but phenomenal. Currently in the top 100, and I'm sure you only go up from there, my friend. We do have some more comments, and I will get to those. We will continue on just for a sec and get into some of the long-termers. Vernsey, what do we got here on the screen, mate?
Yeah, so we got Butler, who's out for the season. Obviously, done his knee there. So that's Golden State's Butler there, who I know earlier in the season, a few of us have owned him at a pretty cheap price. Similar sort of that Booker mix where he's cheap, but he's got that premium capability. But, it does mean that obviously that's an increase to potentially Steph right there. So definitely increases, his stocks. We got Adams. I'm guessing that's Steven Adams that we got out there for Houston. Obviously Houston going on to a good run there. We know that's going to be good for Sengun. So positive for him. But I mean, Adams plays off the bench and does play big minutes anyway, really. Morant, 3 weeks. Look, Morant, let's be honest, we're not really picking Morant. He's not that guy, unfortunately. And then the big one is Giannis for 4 to 6 with the calf. Now, he's got a 5-weeker in there that I reckon a lot of us were, making sure that we had cash to put aside for so that we could have him in. But yeah, he's gone. I mean, we know that's huge for, we saw Porter Jr. be huge when Giannis was out. And they don't really have another superstar, in my opinion, at Milwaukee. Not a superstar, that's a bit rude to say, but nobody the Giannis's level. So expect I think expect a bump across the board for most of these players. And you can probably get some mid prices or some of these cheaper premiums that are going to perform above their price tag. So maybe guys that you can look at for that 5-game week if you're a little bit low on cash.
That's a really good point about the 5-game. I actually brought in Giannis for this week, which was unfortunate. But in saying that, I think we were looking a few weeks ago at how many blokes actually have that 5-game week. There are superstars all across the board. So I suppose in a way, it does make it a little bit easier taking Giannis off the board. That's one less of these ultra premiums that we do need to almost feel pressured to try to bring in. So I suppose that's a slight positive there, but we never like, obviously, when our superstars are injured. Unfortunately, though, lads, this is only the first slide. We do have another one with Porter Jr., Jalen Williams, and Booker. So, Boz, are you concerned here, mate?
Yeah, well, none of these guys will play in the recent future. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. was that one that kind of had that increased bump with Giannis being out, but he's also out indefinitely. He actually got ruled out prior to Giannis being ruled out. So, look, for me in Milwaukee, there's only a couple of names that really spring to mind. Like, I don't think you're going to pick any of these guys, but we saw earlier in the year as a cash option, Ryan Rollins was really, really good when Giannis was out. I'm not sure what he's priced at the moment because I don't think many people have probably looked at him over the last 6 weeks, I'd say. And he could be a really nice mid-price option if Milwaukee go into a good schedule. Jalen Williams in OKC, done the hammy. That just makes Chet and Shai's life a little bit easier when it comes to usage. OKC are really good at covering injured stars. Like they have so many great bench players that come and play a role. So they won't have an issue as a team, but just super coach wise, like Chet and Shai just become even better options. And I think obviously we saw that this week with Shai being the top scorer. He would have really kind of benefited from probably having to play an extra 3 or 4 minutes than he would have liked, just because they needed to kind of cover for Jalen Williams being out. And then lastly, unfortunately, Booker, he was having a massive game. I think he put at least 30 points on Philadelphia, had about 6 3-pointers, and then right at the end of the game did his ankle quite badly. Now, they're saying 1 week he'll be reevaluated. I think he'll be out a little bit longer than that. You can firmly cross Booker off your list. When you look at Phoenix, there's a couple of mid-price guys that can come into relevance, and we'll cover those when we do go through the mid-prices a bit later on.
Beautiful, mate. So some half-relevant injuries, but even if they're not injuries to absolute superstars, there is that domino effect, isn't there? And opportunities do open up for some different players. The comments keep flowing, guys, so we'll quickly get to some more before we move on. We've got Cause of the Ladies Man Blackledge. He's looking at Giannis, Reynard, and Barnes for Brown, Shangun, and Ace Bailey. Ranked 591 overall, his Causa. Scored a 12.08, went up 219 spots. 300 points behind top 100. So that's where Jerbsy's sitting at the moment and hasn't gone down since round 2. So well done to you, Causa. Traded Johnson, kept Luca. Luca had a big week. So I traded Flag to Keontae George, Queen, and Giannis, and Bam. So well done, mate. Good stuff there. Shano, do we get Luca back, Legends? Well, we will be talking about the premium options very, very soon, mate. So we'll answer that question for you in a minute. G'day, DR. G'day, Shano. How are you, mate? Boz, says Lockie. Boz, a big fan. Oh,
must be a big fan.
All right.
Yeah,
I think this makes sense now. Geez, my man, how are you, brother? Jumping on the... Can someone pronounce this? This is a player, I'm imagining.
Well, the player's Vucevic, but he's saying Vucci main. It's like a bit of a... I don't know, whatever this generation is kind of saying. So he's all aboard the Vucevic train as he goes into a 5-game week. So not a bad shout there.
Very, very nice. I'm too old to get some of this chat, I think, mate. We've got David Anderson here. G'day, Dave. At 12.29 this week. Really good, mate. Moved into the top 100 at 65th. So, geez, we've got some absolute Supercoach royalty here in the chat. Many, many close to the top 100, inside the top 100. So, congratulations, mate. Are we keeping Murray or trading? So, boys, you might quickly answer this one. Murray, is he staying? Is he going? What are we thinking? What are our thoughts there?
I think you have to keep him just because when he is playing, it's really good, and there'll be a lot of other probably players in your team heading into a 3-game week. I mean, I don't know your team, but most people are going to have Shea, Wemby. Maybe they've put in Giannis this week. They all go to 3-game weeks, so you're going to have to kind of maybe get rid of one, not all of them. But I like to think that Murray should, fingers crossed. I think he was going to play today if they didn't get postponed. And then all of a sudden he's hadn't scored 55 for the week. He may have scored, 85. And we're saying, 85 over 3 is pretty good. So I think with all the other kind of casualties we might have on our teams, I think Murray, you just got to hold on to him. I mean, if for whatever reason you're in a luxury position where you don't have any of these guys, then sure, get ahead of the curve, because I think next week Denver's run finally ends and they go back to a couple 3 games. So if you want to get ahead of the curve, do it. But I feel like just for 1 extra week, there's probably no harm in holding him, even if he does, let's say, miss 1 game but still plays 3.
Yeah, I definitely think hold. The run doesn't quite dry up. He goes into a 3, then a 5. So I think you hold him, especially because I think you said they have 1 game that will get rescheduled. So if the 3 next week turns into a 4, then all of a sudden 4-4-5. Definitely not getting rid of him. Yeah,
we will talk about some of the schedule, all of the schedule in a little while, because there has been some changes, which we'll touch on as well. But thoughts from the legends there on Murray for you, mate. All right, let's continue on, boys. And here we are actually getting to the schedule, and something obviously really stands out here. Houston, and that's why you saw the 3 boys on the thumbnail. 4-4-4-4-4. If you don't mind, 5 4s in a row. We've then got Memphis with the 4 4s in a row, Philly and New York, a 4-4, then into a 5. So very nice for someone like a Maxi. Talk about maybe Cat as a pod with some of the potential trading options. And they've got Minnesota and Washington with a 4-4, 4-4-4. Vernsey, is it just a matter of target Houston players this week and then relax and put your feet back in the banana lounge chair?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we have the Vucevic getting mentioned, and the reason people are talking about Chicago right now is because of that rescheduled game. They actually go into a 5-3-5, which is pretty nuts on the schedule. So you could definitely go a Chicago player now, hold them next week, get them for a 5-game week. That sounds very nice. Houston, as much as the 4-4-4-4 sounds really good, there is obviously a week there where a lot of teams have a 5. So that middle game being a 4 isn't as valuable as it sounds. It's definitely not bad. It's not a 3-game, but it's kind of like having a 3 when others have 4. It's not actually that as valuable. So you can definitely go to these Houston players. I do think their run started last week, though, so a lot of people probably already ended up on them because of last week. But yeah, I think obviously the big 3 there, sort of KD, Thompson's at a good price, and Şengün are the ones you'd target from there. Other than that, yeah, we've got, I think, Chicago would be my next favorite, and there's nobody in Memphis that really stands out to me personally.
Very nice. Boz, your thoughts, mate, on the more short-term schedules?
Well, I think what we'll also touch on there is, so Chicago got a game rescheduled, and also Miami as well. So Miami actually have gone from a 5 to a 4, not a 5-3. So I think initially a lot of people would have thought, okay, Bam might be that 1 week play. Miami also actually have a 4-game week this week. So I think if you do have Bam as well as as I said, Wemby, Giannis, Shea, you can maybe think to hold him for an extra week. Because they've also had a reschedule. So obviously this graphic was made a long time ago, and these things do happen with the weather. And I think it was actually rescheduled due to the NBA Cup. Actually, no, I lie. I remember watching it actually over Christmas. There was condensation on the court, and they just couldn't. They just for whatever reason couldn't stop the stadium from leaking water. I remember watching this with a mate. So that's the reason for this reschedule here. So yeah, Chicago 5, Miami 4. And look, in terms of what I like here is I think you have to have at least 2 Houston guys. I honestly think you do. And, you can't really go wrong in terms of which 2 out of the 3 you pick. I assume that we'll have a lot of good power forward center type players in the coming weeks, which means someone like a Thompson, even though he's probably averaging the least, I think because he's small forward eligible, that actually makes him quite valuable, as well as Kevin Durant. So look, for me, it's Şengün and Thompson. Look, KD's been awesome. He'll continue to be awesome. I just worry about his 38-year-old body, and I've said it a few times so far on the podcast throughout the season. And look, he's proved me wrong so far. He hasn't missed. He has not missed a game. He has played pretty much every game for them, and they need him to because they're not doing too well when he's not out there. But I just feel like the moment I get him will be the moment that he, does me dirty. In terms of Memphis, yeah, there's Jaren Jackson Jr. has been really poor this season. It'd be really risky to go for him when there are so many better options. Philly and New York, you can make a case like, geez, if Embiid wasn't resting, because he's averaging really, really well, but he just, as we know, he's already resting tomorrow. He rests every back-to-back game they have. So you can guarantee that in that 5-game week coming up, he might not even play 2 of those games minimum. So, yeah, it's also a week where if you have the Houston boys, you don't like any Memphis guys, you've got a Tyrese Maxey already, you're not really sold on, let's say, a Cat or a Brunson. Do you look at Anthony Edwards? Do you look at Alex Sarr from Washington? Or do you just say, hey, you know what? Lakers are on 1 4-game week. I'm just going to get Luka because I know he's going to get me 120 minimum. So it's a very interesting time in the schedule, I think, where I think people are going to actually go away from looking at the real long-term plays and start grabbing the best players on their 4s.
Interesting. Now, one thing you mentioned, it doesn't really matter which 2 out of the 3 Houston guys that you've got. Do you think it's going too overboard if you've got 3? Because I'm in the position where I've got Thompson and KD and potentially looking at bringing in Şengün this week. Is that too many, mate? Or is there such a thing as having too many?
Well, I mean, it's the first year we've ever played NBA Supercoach. And I know when I play AFL Supercoach, I don't like to put my hands too deep into one team and have, all 3 midfielders or whatever. But I feel like in NBA, there's only 5 on the court at every time. So there's so much opportunity for players to get usage. And those 3 consistently are the 3 that do everything for Houston. You might have a little bit of Reed Shepherd off the bench for them who gets hot. But apart from that, those 3 guys, Şengün, KD and Thompson, they're the consistent ones that are doing everything. So there's a reason why they're all averaging about 25 Supercoach points. It's because they all are putting that out there. So I don't think it is too much if you do own all 3. But you definitely need to have 2 just for their insane run that they have coming up.
I think the other thing for this schedule, guys, is like we've got this huge 5-game week coming up. We've talked about there's so many guys on this 5-game week that we want. I do think you want to try and at least prep for that sort of thing. As Boz mentioned, get your Maxey in early sort of thing. If you want to catch, sure. If you go for a Luka this week, you hold him next week and you've got him for the 5-game week. That sounds amazing. Giddey, Vucevic, you look at those options. So I do like the idea of prepping for the 5-game weeks as well and having an absolute monster score on that week.
Yeah, and Cause the Ladies Man said Miami plays Chicago 3 times this week as well. So very, very interesting is the schedule. Let's go to the next slide here. So we've got Boston on the 4-4. And then as you can see on the screen, I won't read them all out, a raft of teams on a 4 here. This is more the short term you were just talking about, Boz, rather than really looking at that longer terms type schedule. And we do have players here like your Cade, like your Lucas. Do you think that's a fair shout looking at someone like a Cade or a Luca this week?
Luca definitely, because of that 5 that comes up in the next 3. Cade probably not. I think last week was the time to go for Cade. Not that it was a good move, because I made that move and he didn't do well. He only played 3 out of the 4 and scored 75. So yeah, but I just don't think Cade this week. I don't think his matchups are, screaming at us to get him, especially because I think, as we said, Luca has that 5 coming up. If Detroit had a 5 in that week, absolutely you can argue to grab Cade early. But I just think there are a lot better players that we can get this week that will also benefit us come that 5-game week.
Burnsy, any thoughts on this slide here? We've got a couple of 4-4s, and then we've got some of the bigger type players like your Jalen Johnson, for example, on the 4. What are you thinking? You're looking more short term at a couple of superstars, maybe for a 1-week play, or are you more tempted to go back to the previous slide and just lock a few blokes in for the next 3 to 4 weeks?
Yeah, look, I mean, personally, I'm interested in getting Luca back. I think it was a mistake, unfortunately, to have traded him out. Just obviously only being point guard eligible. There's only so many only point guards you can have, especially with like Shea and Maxey already sort of taking those spots up, and made a mistake of moving him out, I think. And he obviously popped off in a 3-game week, and then he's back to 4 games. So I love that. Obviously, we had the little comment up there for Nervik. Obviously, he was incredible this week. I mean, helps when Markman's not in. And obviously Keontae George as well was incredible for Utah. They were the big standouts for Utah, and I know a couple of guys I'm a little bit upset that I didn't look at and went for Markham instead, because I went for kind of the old reliable proven guy, even though he's pretty injury prone and apparently can be sick for a whole week.
These things happen, mate, don't they? These things happen. But look, it'll be interesting to see which way people go. Do you look at that longer term? Do you mix it up a little bit? Maybe get a Houston player in, and then maybe target your Luca and a Johnson if you can. We may see a little bit of division this week, so it is going to be interesting. Obviously, preparing for those 5 games. You can see them just in a couple of weeks' time, and look at the teams next to that green. Very, very relevant. But these are the teams we are probably looking to avoid in the next couple, because we do have a 3-3, and that's Dallas. Now, Miami does change now, so keep that in mind. That is now changed there. Milwaukee, New Orleans, OKC, San Antonio, and Toronto. So I know I've got someone like a Scotty Barnes. I've got Wemby as well. So they're 2 players that are most likely on the trade block for me, 2 players that I've had on field. So, yeah, going out of my squad this week. Boys, anything you really want to touch on the avoid section before we move on to some of the targets?
I think we're good.
I just want to quickly mention that comment before about Nurkic, because I think he deserves a shout out. He averaged a triple-double over 4 games this week. And that's just crazy. I'm not even sure how many Supercoach points he did score. But for a center to average 17 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, just under a steal and a block on 51% shooting with only 2 turnovers is pretty insane. He's very much that European Jokic type player. But like, is he going to replicate a triple-double? Do you have that up there, DR? Do you know how much he actually scored on the 4 games this week?
130.
So 130, and that was averaging a triple-double. Does he do it again? Probably not. He might have a couple of games where he goes nuts, and if Markkanen keeps missing, then absolutely he can. But once Markkanen gets back, I just don't think we see enough usage or enough of the ball in his hands, to be honest, because Keontae George takes a lot of shots, and so does Markkanen when he plays. So, look, it'll be a really sneaky pod, because a lot of people are looking elsewhere, and he's just literally come off averaging a triple-double. But it's one of those ones where if it doesn't go right, it's not like you have the security of him playing 4 games in a row. It's just this week. So if it does go wrong, it's a bit of a waste of a trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, good call there, Shano. Looking a bit outside the box there. So very well done, mate. Now, we will move on to the Primo targets. But again, we do have some comments that we need to get back to. We might actually start off with this one here. Do we get Luca back legend? So Primo targets this week. Boz, happy to get Luca in. Is he on your list?
Yeah, well, when I sent this list into you, DR, for whatever reason, I was looking in the wrong column and I just had LA playing 3 games in my mind. That's the only reason why Luca is not on this list. Luca, to be honest, I mean, if we're looking purely at scoring potential, he is the best player to put on this list. Like he's, aside from Jokic when he's fit, he's the next best averaging player. So Luca is 100% the number 1 target this week. The guys that are on this list, though, these are all the guys that have at least 2 4-game weeks in a row. Some of them go into 5-game weeks in that 3rd week. Some of them don't. But yeah, Luca is 100% the right play, in my opinion, this week. And then you hold him next week, and then he goes into a 5-game week. Now, we did see last week on a 5-game week that Luca played 4, and LeBron James, funnily enough, actually played all 5. First time he didn't rest on back-to-backs. But I think moving forward, hopefully with that 5-game week, you kind of, it's a bit of a law of average, isn't it? Like you're backing in the 5-game week player to play all those games. And as we said, if he doesn't, he plays 4 and he still ends up top scoring for the week because that's how good Luca is. So Luca is an absolute lock, in my opinion. If you have some of these guys on this list, like if you've got a couple of Houston guys, you've got your Maxi, you get Luca. But if you're like, really struggling and only have a lot of short-term 4-game options, I think you kind of, maybe not pivot, but you might need to start thinking about, can I get a couple of players in that are going to play multiple weeks in a row? Because it's going to get tricky when you have 6 players on a 3-game week and you can only trade out 3 or 4 if you have a boost. So it is very much still about being careful with the schedule. But for me, Luca is number 1 target.
Beauty, mate. Vernsey, couple of questions, mate. First one, is Luca a target for you this week? And then secondly, who else on this list is standing out for you, brother?
Yep, I think I mentioned it before that I regret trading him. So 100% a target for me. When you're looking at this list, the other variable you got to take in is obviously the Chicago and the 5. Do you take a risk on a guy on a 5-game week as well? I took a risk on Bam this week and wasn't bad. Was the highest scoring player in my team. So in reality, it was the correct decision for me. But obviously, there is people like Luca who can come out and score 50 points in a game and Maxi who can do that. And some of these Chicago players, I don't think there's anyone there that's likely to drop a 50, let alone consecutively. If I got 5 30s out of them and got to 150, I'd be very happy. But Luca or Maxi could easily get 4 40s and go 160. So they're probably my 2 top options right there. Maxi or Luca. They were definitely the guys I was looking at.
Yeah, nice, mate. Now, we might quickly get to some of the comments again. We've got David Anderson here. G'day, Dave. 1229. Moved into the top 100 at 65th. Awesome. Oh, sorry, we've already gone through this. Keeping Murray. We are, advised to keep there. Shano, how worried should we be about all this inclement weather? Am I missing something here? This isn't BBL, isn't it? Don't we play basketball inside, boys? You need to enlighten me about what's going on with the weather.
It's more getting to and from states. So obviously because they charter flight everywhere, a lot of airports are halted because of snow and those kind of things. So I don't know if you saw the NFL today, but that was covered in snow, one of the games they played in the championship, one of those games. So I think America, some of the states are going through a bit of a blizzard. So it's hard for teams to actually make their way to the other state they have to play. And that's why, there's been a few postponements. And then another game got postponed because of a murder in the city or something. That ice debacle. I haven't read too much into it, but Minnesota game just got cancelled because of that. So look, these things happen. You can't really take that into consideration. I'm not going to be looking up every team and their schedule and looking at which states are in a blizzard. I'm just going to kind of back in the blokes that have the good schedule, and if it gets postponed, it gets postponed.
Beautiful, mate. Causes also said that Pete Nance could be a good rookie with Giannis out. We'll take a look at some rookies in a sec, mate. That Shams notification for the eventual Giannis trade is going to be massive. I think he might have played his last game for the Bucks. that would be a big call. My little fella would be shattered. He is a big Bucks man as well. Vucci Main. Sorry, yeah, I'm a different generation. I don't understand that sort of stuff there. Gerbs, might be tempted to use my last boost this week. Maybe flag down for cash. Then Barnes to Edwards. SGA/Wemby to Luca. And then Bam. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Bam out. So that's a very interesting trade there. But means I keep one player on a 3-game week. 6 million left for the big boy sometime. So, Gerbs, he knows what he's doing. He's got many plans up the sleeve here. And it's lower than negative 20 degrees Celsius in some US states. So he's even good with the weather there, is Gerbs. So thank you very much for that, mate. But something I didn't even consider, indoors, that was my logic. But yeah, absolutely. If it's no good for the flights, then makes things difficult. All right, let's move down just a peg to the mid-price targets. And we've got 6 names on the screen. There's often been weeks where we've had 1 to 2 names, but Boz, it seems like we have potentially a few more options this week.
Yeah, these are all just due to opportunity, due to injuries, and we covered those long-term ones moving forward. But so, for example, Gillespie and Allen, so the first and the 5th name on the board, they're both shooting guard, point guard types for Phoenix. And now we know that Devin Booker is definitely going to be out for at least a week. And we saw that when one of these guys misses time, like, for example, when Grayson Allen missed time earlier in the season, Gillespie had a bit of a coming out where he actually kind of showed what he was capable of. Now, again, we're not saying these guys are going to be scoring monster scores, but if you're in a world where you really need to save some cash, a Gillespie and Allen, they're not going to be half bad because someone needs to actually bring the ball up the court. Someone needs to score. Someone needs to actually deliver some assists. If I'm looking at it, Grayson Allen's more proven over the years, but Gillespie's having a better season. So, that kind of comes down to a paper, scissors, rock there. Kelly Oubre Jr., he really benefits because Embiid and George are always missing, and then he becomes the second option. And in those games where he does become the second option, he's really, really good. I think he had a 90 this week over 4. So for 10 million, that's pretty good. And you can even, if you can even get a couple of games without Embiid and Paul George, who knows, Oubre could actually push 100 plus on a 4-game week if all things go to plan. He's quite a good basketballer. Mitch Rob's just going through a good vein of form for New York. They're struggling as a team, but he's just putting up some monster rebound games and minutes, and he's a good shot blocker. Only thing with Robinson is foul trouble, and he actually doesn't play much. He actually plays really low minutes, but really high usage when he's in those minutes. He's your typical, just put back dunks and alley-oops and all those kind of things. So, look, I wouldn't go near him, but if we just saw before, Mitch Rob's schedule is a 4-4-5. So you never know, if you needed someone of that kind of price tag, holding him for 3 weeks, he could maybe pay some dividends every now and then. Cam Spencer, he was a mid-pricer we touched on a few weeks ago, I reckon maybe a month ago, when Ja Morant got injured for the first time this season. Ja Morant is now out again, and Spencer really takes on that starting point guard role. He is averaging really high assist numbers when Ja Morant's out. He pretty much, you can lock him into 7 assists plus every game that Ja Morant doesn't play. Now, they've got another point guard coming back who hasn't played all season, and his name is Ty Jerome. He hasn't played a minute yet, but he's going to be coming back in the next couple of weeks. But I think in the interim, I think Cam Spencer's a really good option. And then down the bottom of the list, Moses Moody plays for Golden State. He popped off this week because of the Jimmy Butler injury. So it looks like he's getting that starting small forward role. And at 7.3, he's at a really, really nice price to make some money, and potentially kind of score. Look, on a 4-game week, I'd expect him to go no more than 85 on a good week, to be honest. But, Steph needs help, has to come from somewhere. And he can definitely be that helper. There's also another guy called Pajemski as well for Golden State. He's more at that high 10 million range. He pretty much also gets a lot of usage when Jimmy Butler misses. So, plenty of good mid-price options, all purely down to injuries, to be honest.
Opportunity presents. Fernsey, is there anyone here that's really tickling your fancy, my brother?
Oh, for me, not personally. I think, unfortunately, with a few of these guys, as much as they probably present great value, they don't have the greatest schedules outside of Robinson, who has insanely good schedule. Obviously, Albury Jr. as well also has a good schedule. So they're the two options schedule wise. If you're putting these guys on field, they're probably the targets. The other guys, they're almost. I know with like Moody and Spencer and stuff, even Allen, they have like a 1-4 game week at best in the next 3. So they're really just going to be bench options for the next few weeks and hopefully accrue some cash. So it's a bit of money to, invest into a guy that's probably going to be a bench player for you. So not too interested in most of those guys, honestly.
What I'll say, Vern, the Spencer, so there's 2 Spencers. This is the Memphis one. So they do have like 3 or 4.
Oh, they do have 3 4s in a row. Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's not. His older brother plays for Golden State, I think. So.
I probably looked at that actually. Sorry, my bad. Yes, there's probably 3 options there. There we go, good fixtures, and then 3 with not great fixtures.
I got that mixed up myself as well there, Vans. It's so easy, isn't it, with so many names, mate? All right, now talk about stuff up. That's what we had a couple of weeks ago for the rookie targets, and I've absolutely stuffed up again. So I'll quickly get this image file up. I think I did actually have it up, boys. I was ready, and then when I lost connection, I think we said goodbye again. So I'll just get this up again. Sorry, got that many slides going on, putting this season guide together and all this other wonderful stuff. But all right, here we are. Get the rookies up. 3 options for us this week, Boz.
There's actually a few more, and I do want to preface that Supercoach took so long to open, I guess because of the long weekend in Australia Day, that I feel like it opened a little bit late. So by the time I'd done this, I was just kind of guessing based off who scored well. But there are a couple more, and one was mentioned in the chat, which I really liked. But for now, we may as well go through these 3. And look, to be honest, we can probably only trust, I don't know if we can trust any of them, but the first one is, I don't even want to kind of try to pronounce his name, but he's the rookie out of Miami, and he is getting a lot of run now because Tyler Hero's out. Now, we know that Tyler Hero has a bit of a timeline that is a bit unsure, and it looks like he will at least play, I would say, flat starters minutes for the next week minimum. So if you really were desperate, he could be quite a good option. Now, I know they had 5 games this week, and when I put his name on the board, I was expecting to have a 3-game week. But with that 4-game week, not that you'd be putting him on your field, but at that 3.9 million tag, his break-even's 10. He easily gets that. He had a 42 this week. And look, you look at that, and that's under actually 10 points a game because they played a 5-game week. But I think towards the end of the week was when we started to see him actually get the starting role, get some more minutes. So I think potentially he can make a little bit of money for you. The second one is Cody Williams, so the brother of Jalen Williams from OKC, but he plays for Utah. They've pretty much just kind of pulled the plug as they do Utah, and they've said, we want this guy to get as many minutes as possible. Offensively, he's not great, but defensively, he's good. He's a really good steal and shot blocker for someone at 5.1 million. Again, I wouldn't be expecting him to be scoring or even be on your field, to be honest. But, if you do have, let's say, a Ray Nord who's at about 8 million and you need to get him down to someone, Cody Williams could be a decent little player there. Now, he's got a 4-game week coming up and a break-even of 24, and he scored 44 over 4 this week. So, again, it looks like he'll make his break-even, but, again, probably not making you too much money. The last one on my list is Dwight Powell for Dallas because Anthony Davis is out. They've been playing and starting Dwight Powell. Look, he's not going to play any more than, let's say, 23, 24 minutes a night. He's pretty much there for rebounding and shot blocking purposes. But from what I remember from this week, he's at 5.3 million, a break-even of 12. He, again, scored 40. So all the rookies are really not kind of putting up those ceiling numbers. They're putting up the really nice just 10 to 12 Supercoach points a game. But I guess you got to start thinking about people to make money. And, yeah, Corza, that's what I was going to touch on next. So you got your Ace Bailey's being the 4th one. He is similar to Cody Williams. Ace Bailey is just being played heaps and heaps and heaps for Utah now. They've pretty much said that you're our first-round pick this year. We're just going to play you 25-plus minutes a night. Bailey's a little bit more expensive at the 6.9 million. So I guess he's kind of edging on that rookie to mid-pricer. But he scored 70 this week over 4 games, which is really, really good. And he has a break even of 23. And then the last one, and that is the big fella from Milwaukee that was mentioned by Causa as well. It's Pete Nance. So he's pretty much he was starting to play some minutes when Giannis was actually playing. And now that Giannis is out, it's pretty obvious that he'll play some backup minutes to Miles Turner. He's got a break even of 2. And he's going to hit that. And he's at 3.5 billion as well. So there are 5 pretty good options. Yeah, like that Rain Nord to Nance move is going to net you 5 million. And that's big to be able to get you up to someone. So definitely something to think about if you were in the luxury this week of actually downgrading some of these guys on your bench that might have bottomed out, like a Rain Nord, who's definitely bottomed out. He's barely playing anymore because Sabonis is back for Sacramento.
Beautiful. Vernsey, anything else you want to add with the rookies, mate?
Oh, yeah. Look, I guess we'll quickly just touch on the guys that are at the top of this break-evens list because they're the guys people are probably looking at. I'm going to kill his name. Fontecchio, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
I can try my best there.
Yeah. Nice.
Minus 15, obviously dropped 82 over 5 games, though. But, yeah, minus 15's pretty huge. 4-game week. That's pretty nuts. Like, you don't have to do much to make money there. So definitely... Yeah, he had a good week this week again. So just, I mean, I don't have too much to say. I didn't actually see much of Miami this week. What about you, Boz? I feel like you brought up him in previous weeks. So
he's very much just like a really good 3-point shooter, like really, really solid. So because Heroes out, they still have Norman Powell and Wiggins who play in the starting roles, but they pretty much give him 20 minutes a game. And there's these games where he just gets hot. And I think a couple of the games this week on that 5-game skid. He actually, got pretty hot. And I think a couple of those games he dropped, 4 or 5 3-pointers. So doesn't do much else, to be honest. Like he's very much just in the team to shoot threes. But yeah, I guess if your break even's negative again, as you said, Vern, it's pretty hard to lose money. So if you really wanted that security of getting someone who's guaranteed to make money, not a bad option. I just think that, I don't know. I don't really trust any of the rookies these days. It's very hard this time of the year. We need kind of, a couple of teams to really come out and start tanking to see some of these guys getting extra minutes.
Okay, cool.
Causa, I'm getting Nance next week. I still have Murray Balls as a backup center. And the great cheese. Reckon Cole Anthony will get some more opportunities too, enough to make some cash. Any thoughts on Cole Anthony?
Yeah, he's not bad. He's had some good years in Orlando, and then he's obviously come across to Milwaukee. The thing is, when we think back to Giannis's first injury, which was a calf injury, and it was earlier in the season, I don't think from memory Cole Anthony played. And at the same time, Kevin Porter Jr. was out as well. Now, Cole Anthony, when given minutes, is a really, really solid player. And if we look at him this week, he's still only got 15 minutes a game. So look, I know it's a small sample size. It's 4 games. And over this week, only playing 2 games, it went from 15 or 16 minutes to 20 minutes. So, he is pushing up, but I just don't think 20 minutes is enough for someone like him. He also shot the ball at 64% this week, and his career average is about 44%. So I think the ledger gets squared there. And when he does get the increased minutes, I do think the field goal drops. So I just don't see him averaging, any more than, let's say, 10 Supercoach points a game. Which, again, we've been saying with these guys on the list that it's going to be okay. I'll look at Anthony. His break-even's at 8. So, look, to be honest, it's not the worst pick because, as we said, Kevin Porter Jr. is out. If we were guaranteed that he was getting 30 minutes, 100% you lock him into your team. So, I don't think he's any better or any worse than any of the guys we actually named on the list before. But, for whatever reason, if you need to get in a point guard, because I think his position's point guard, shooting guard, if you need to get in a point guard, shooting guard, and you want to back him in over, let's say, the Miami Heat point guard, by all means, put him in your side. Because I think he does get a little bit of an increased role. I just don't think he'll do too much with it. That's all.
Very, very well said, mate. There you go, Cheesy. All the good oil there for Cole. All right. We are almost cracking towards the end here, lads. I'll just get back to the other slideshow here. Capitano's Corner. Now, we've got 8 options here with the 2 pod options. So you can see Maxi, I think you're really good options for us this week. Shengun, Thompson, we've got KD, so the 3 Houston boys there. Jalen Johnson for anyone that either held on to him or maybe looking for that short-term play. We've got Cade, and then 2 pod options there, Brunson and Cat, 2 New York Knickerbockers. Vernsey, we'll start off with you, mate. Who is tickling your fancy for the captain's corner this week? We've got 8 fairly decent options there, all 6 and a couple of pods anyway.
Yeah, so we definitely talked about Luka, obviously needing to be included in this. For me, yeah, it's out of Luka or Maxi. Originally, it was going to be Maxi for me, but I think the upside of Luka, it's pretty hard to go away from in reality. He's definitely the kind of guy that can put down a 180 on a 4-game week, so don't want to miss that opportunity, do we?
Boz, you're the same. Luka, the number 1 option for you this week. Obviously not in the screen, but number 1 option for you, buddy.
Yeah, obviously not on the screen because I thought they played 3 games this week. So again, my fault. But yeah, definitely Luka. They're on a road trip, 4-game road trip. So they are not playing at home. But you look at some of the matchups. They've got Chicago, who are decent, but I don't think they are a match for Luka. They haven't got many kind of defensive guards. He goes into Cleveland, who I think, again, he'll take the piss out of Cleveland. He's got Washington, who are terrible. And he goes into New York. Now, whether New York are playing good or bad, it doesn't matter. When superstars go to MSG, Madison Square Garden, they love to put on a show. It's just a thing that happens. And I think, yeah, Luka will be primed to have a big game against New York. I do like Maxi's schedule. Also, the fact that we know Embiid will miss, but they've got Charlotte and Milwaukee, who are both, weak, especially Milwaukee now that Giannis is out. Sacramento and New Orleans. Like, they're 4 bottom-dwelling teams in their conferences. So that is a really nice matchup-based pick there. JJ was back to his best this week, which was really nice to see. What did he hit? Like 110 over 3. So again, sometimes when JJ's hot, he just stays hot, and hopefully he can continue that. But I definitely do think Luka and Maxi will be the top 2 captain players. And then the reasons I put Brunson and Cat as the pod picks is because New York have been under a bit of scrutiny. They're playing terribly at the moment. I just expect them to bounce back. They're a pretty good team. They play the majority of their games at home, I believe. They play, 3 out of the 4 at home at the Garden. Sacramento, Portland, and Lakers, who are all quite bad defensively. Toronto, they play away to, and they're quite a good side, Toronto, defensively. But 3 out of the 4 games at the Garden, and then in a big bounce back week, I think you'll see Brunson or Cat put up a really big week there.
Very nice. Always good to have a couple of pod options. I'm someone, and look, I think a bit of a lesson learned last week when you look at someone like SGA, sometimes it's better just to go a little bit safer. But if you're someone that's really looking to climb up the ranks, or even if you're still involved in the Supercoach Cup, you take a look at your matchup and you think, I'm a little bit behind. I need to go a little bit different. This is why the great Boz provides you with a couple of hot options. But look, I'm definitely on the Luka train myself. Don't currently own him, but I will be bringing him in this week. And then that's a nice segue, boys, into our potential trades for the week. So I think we've already talked about it. All at this stage looking to bring Luka in. For myself, I'm not sure whether to load up. And that was a bit of a selfish question I asked you before, Boz, about is it too many? Is 3 Houston players too many? Because obviously I already own KD and Thompson. So I was potentially looking to get Şengün in along with him, and then potentially Jalen Johnson back again. So it'd be Luka, Johnson, and Şengün. More of the short-term play with 2 of those picks, and then lock in the extra Houston player. How about you, boys? If you is something locked in for sure, or do you still need to think through things and go through a couple of different options up your sleeve?
Look, I'll jump in quickly just because I'm pretty comfortable with my trades. I think I will stick to these. But Luka will be in for me, and then I think I'll throw the captain on him. I originally had the captaincy on Maxi because I saw how good his schedule was, but now that I've brought Luka in, change that around. I do love the option of getting one of these Chicago players, and I think I will go for Vucevic just because I'm going to be moving out Wemby. And then I've actually gone for a Cat player as well. It's gone for Cat as well. So I'm trying to really set myself up so in a couple of weeks when we do have these 5-game weeks, I've already got Luka, I've already got Maxi, I've already got Cat, Vucevic, these guys that are ready for the 5-game week, so I don't have to trade like 4 in on that week. I'll already had my team prepped for it. So that's the strat at the moment.
Like it, mate. You seem very confident with it as well. I think Cat for me seems like one of those picks where we're going to come back next week, Burns, and you're going to go, yes, that just nailed it, or else we're going to go, why to get Cat in? Why to get Cat in?
100%, yep.
Has that feeling for me, mate. So a bit of a risk versus reward. I love it, Burnsy. I love it, mate. Boz, how about yourself, brother? Anything absolutely locked in, throw away the key, or still having a bit of a hunt around?
Yeah, there is something locked in. It'll be Luka. He'll be coming in for sure. Now, I've been toying around this afternoon with 2 scenarios. One is keeping Wemby and moving Shea on, because that gets me enough money to then get a Men Thompson and, let's say, an Anthony Edwards. And I don't know how many people would be able to get Anthony Edwards back as well as Luka this week. And the 100% trade outs, by the way, are Scotty Barnes and Cooper Flagg. They're 100% going.
Yep, that's
but
mine.
Then, say it again, sorry.
Oh, that's what I had for mine too. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, so Flagg, Barnes, yeah.
As well. Yep.
And then, so the idea was, if I can get Shea out, but then I really want to keep Shea for the 5-game week in 2 weeks. And I think by that time we'll have someone like Jokic back. So I don't want to have to kind of try to get Shea back. So now I'm actually thinking about keeping Shea and moving Wemby instead. However, I can't afford Anthony Edwards if that's the case. So I'm just looking around now for like a center option, and it's someone like a Vucevic, because I think Anthony Edwards on a 4-game week, Vucevic on a 5-game week, you think Vucevic plays all 5. I think there'd be a similar kind of scoreline there. I don't think it'd be too different. So I'm thinking that will be the move, just so I can hold on to Shea. Even though he does have 2 3-game weeks in a row, and next week I'll be playing Luka and Shea both on 3-game weeks. But then the plus is that you get both of them on a 5-game week the week after. So I'm liking Wemby, Barnes, and Flagg out for Luka, Amen Thompson, and at the moment it's Vucevic, but that could change because I can always swing Bam to my center and then grab another power forward if there's someone else that I'm liking. But yeah, that's my plan.
I like it, mate. I like it. Shano's taken the punt on holding Wemby and SGA. So, look, we know how they can score in shorter game weeks. But, an interesting strategy. Who's going to be keeping onto the SGA Wemby types, really back in some of their big guns on some shorter game weeks? And who's going to be saying that, see you later, I'm going more the short-term play, even if it's just 1 to 2. So, boys, I think that is it for the week. We'll be almost right on the hour, almost close to the dot. Thank you very, very much for joining us again. And I know that we had comments here about an hour and a half before the stream even started. So thank you, everyone that was obviously waiting for the stream, was nice and keen. Thank you to anyone that's jumped on. Even if you jumped on late, remember that this will be available on the channel. Sometimes it's not as obvious when you're searching for it on YouTube, but make sure that you do, because you can replay the whole thing, watch the whole thing. Started off with the injuries, the targets, a little bit of other news. So, Burnsy, thank you very much again, mate. What's your plans for the next week, brother?
Oh, I mean, I've got a super chill week, so I'm going to chill out, watch some basketball, and enjoy myself.
Cannot complain with that, mate. Boz, unlike Verns, you're going to hundreds of kids to supervise tomorrow. How are you feeling, mate, about your next week?
Yeah, well, fortunately, our students don't start back for a couple of days. So I've got a couple of days of prep work and planning, which will be nice. But the overall goal for this week is to survive the heat wave, because another 40-plus couple of days rolling into Melbourne. So fingers crossed everyone stays safe, stays out of trouble, and there's not too many more bushfires, because that's obviously been a bit of a talking point for our lovely state.
Yes. Hopefully everything's all good. You never like those really hot days. Hopefully the wind stays away. But if you've got a swimming pool or you're near the beach or something, enjoy yourself. Make sure you put that sunscreen on. And think about Boz and I back at school. Not complaining again. We've had some very, very nice holidays. But guys, thank you very, very much again for joining us. Always a pleasure. Good luck this week, and we'll see you again for the round 15 preview. All the best, guys. Cheers, lads. Bye.